If you own a ferment-on-premises operation, a U-Vent business, this video is for you. My name is Eric. I own a ferment-on-premise in Nova Scotia. Yesterday, I was looking for inspiration. I wanted to steal good ideas from other people in the industry and just see what's out there, right? So I spent about an hour looking for other businesses online, subscribing to their email lists, following them on socials, and I found a couple of interesting things that I wanted to share with you. So the long story short is that there are significant obstacles to discovering ferment-on-premise businesses as a prospective client. So I started with social media, searching for businesses using keywords from our industry. And the results were horribly cluttered. There are a ton of people who have ceased operations for whatever reason, never bothered to close the accounts, never bothered to make a final post saying that they were no longer operating, anything like that. So you could imagine a prospective client who's going through, they try to click through a website and the link is dead. They try to call and the phone is disconnected. They're only going to do that for so long, but there were tons and tons and tons of accounts like that. So organic search through social media is a disaster. It's too cluttered and people are not going to find you that way. So then I went to the store locator tools for the suppliers. I started with the RJS store locator, and it doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. I tried it on 2 different devices, and it does not generate results. And the RJS retailers are not surprised right now because the back end of the website is not very good either. So they're not shocked that that doesn't work. So then I went to the global vintner side. I went on the wine expert, find a store locator, and it was the same problem as social media, cluttered with businesses that no longer exist. Probably like 30%, 40% of the listings were for businesses that didn't exist anymore. So just no one's going to find you that way, right? It's a mess. And this is a big challenge because our industry's bottleneck is new client acquisition, right? Every industry has a bottleneck for growth and for success. If you own a plumbing company, it's the availability of plumbers, right? You're competing for a small pool for talent. If you own a cleaning company, it's finding reliable people who will show up to work. That's the challenge. If you own a credit union or you work for a credit union, you've got to convince people to switch from their bank to yours, right? And people don't switch banks very often. So every industry has like the thing to solve for growth, and ours is certainly new client acquisition, right? In many cases, businesses in our industry have just never solved the problem of new client acquisition. Home winemaking was a thing. Maybe they had a decent little business selling kits out the door. And then on-premise comes on the scene. Many of those at-home winemaking clients switch to on-premise. And then, 10, 15 years later, those transitioned clients are still the bulk of the revenue on the on-premise side. And so new client acquisition, like straight to FOP, BOP without having done home winemaking, it's just an unsolved problem. You always get some, but like, when you imagine like your top 10 clients, right? The ones who are like super solid, it's like, how can I get another 100 of those? How can I really turn this engine on? The good news, I think, is that there is a sizable untapped market of people who would be exceptional on-premise winemaking clients, but who don't have the context of home winemaking, and so they don't understand what you're trying to do. They don't understand the words you use and the way your business model works, right? And that's an exciting opportunity because there has never been a better time to be in the bulk savings industry, right? We live in an era where Costco is gaining market share on the grocery stores in the grocery category, right? You are the local Costco as far as wine sales are concerned, or you could be. So how do we think about new client acquisition apart from home winemaking? I will make a dedicated video for that. So if this kind of content is interesting to you, would you just indicate your interest in stuff like that by subscribing to this YouTube channel? That'll just show me that like someone cares about this, because there's not a lot of content out there for on-premise operators. I'm happy to make it if there's even like 10 people who would care to see something like that. So just hit subscribe to show your interest. I'll make that dedicated video on new client acquisition. But let me just give you a couple of pieces that are easy for starting off. One is Watch out for jargon when you post in all your advertising. Terms like kits, right? You can just say wine instead of kits. They don't understand what you mean by a kit a lot of the time. Things like 6-week wines is not important language to someone who doesn't have the context of home winemaking. Even like ferment on premise and Juvent, these terms are tough. People don't understand their level of involvement. Right? What exactly do they have to do? I like to think about this a lot more in the context of the bulk saving side, getting them in that way on that win, and then you get time later for the context. Another good piece is just understanding that you need to buy time on explaining the model, right? When someone's scrolling through their social feed and they stop on one of your posts for 5 seconds, they are not going to understand the ferment on-premise business model, right? You need to get them onto a platform where you have a little more breathing room, where you get like 2 or 3 minutes to really explain what's going on, right? Email marketing has historically been the solid piece for this, if you can get them. Video content has a ton of potential for our industry, I think, to do the same thing. The email marketing side is a little easier than getting into a lot of video content, so let me just give you a couple pieces on that. We capture emails from people who are not existing customers primarily in 2 ways. One, with a wine recommendation quiz that we put out on social media and on our website. You just provide a little bit of information about yourself. How do you like your coffee? What kind of foods do you like? And it pops out a wine recommendation, gets them subscribed to the email list, and then I get a little more time to explain to them what we do, right? Another way that we collect emails from non-clients is just by putting events on in the community. So we've done wine tasting events, we put on wine festivals and galas and that kind of thing, and generated emails that way, which has been quite effective. Because once you've got the email, they'll read an email for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but they're not going to read a Facebook post for 3 minutes, right? So buy yourself a little bit of time, whatever that could mean in your context, but you need a little bit of time to really clearly articulate what it is you're offering. My ferment on-premise business is in a town of 13,000 people in Nova Scotia, and we have 2 competitors in that town. So despite that really small market and the fact that we have to share it, we're generating 7 figures in top-line revenue. There is lots of stuff that I would love to share with you about the success that we've had in this industry. I just need to know that you want to hear it. So if you'd like to hear more, just subscribe to this channel so I know that there's some interest. Like I said, there's not a lot of content in this industry, but we have a lot of ideas that we need to share and make each other better, right? The rising tide lifts all boats. So subscribe to this. Leave me a comment. Do you agree that new client acquisition is the bottleneck, right? Maybe you think something on the staffing side is more challenging, or the rise in costs, right? The reducing gap between on-premise pricing versus liquor store pricing. So yeah, share with me your thoughts, and we'll talk again soon.